name is Sherley.
And I'm Brandy.
And welcome back to Unspoken Transitions, where we talk about the nuances of adulthood in a Christ-like way. And today we are halfway through season 6.
Let's go.
So we're halfway through the season. We have much more content coming, but we just wanted to acknowledge that because I feel like coming back after a long hiatus, it's nice to be consistent and make it through half of the season.
100%. And we've been consistent. So
very consistent. Weekly, y'all. Every Thursday in the morning at some point.
Sometimes Friday,
but weekly.
We've been on it. So
yes.
Thank you all for being here and listening this far in and watching this far in. So we appreciate you all. And yeah, I just want to let you know that we are halfway through.
Halfway through, y'all. All right, so we have a very exciting topic today. I'm gonna let you take it away.
Yes, so today we are going to talk about if the gifts and talents that God gives us, are we using them for His glory, or are we just being lazy, essentially? So the question that I have is, do you feel like you've been using the gifts that God has given you for His glory and using it to the fullest extent that you can, or do you feel like you've been a little bit lazy with it?
That's such a good question because it really makes you pause and think about your life and what you're doing with it. I think so often just going through the motions of the day-to-day, it's really easy to overlook that. And for me, I think it took me so long to actually realize and understand what my talents were. So sometimes in hindsight, I do feel at times that no time is ever wasted, right? But I do feel like I didn't utilize the most of my talents and skills because I didn't really acknowledge or understand what they were to begin with. And it was in recent years that I started to acknowledge, okay, wait, this is actually a talent. Okay, this is actually some sort of ministry. It's not what it looks like in comparison to what I thought was the box that ministry fit into, right? It was just only these talents of, I don't know, whether it was like leading worship or preaching. I feel like there was just a confinement in my mind of what I thought that talents in the kingdom look like. And now I'm understanding, okay, there are talents that I have in terms of, I believe, like service and ministry, in that sense of serving others. We are called to serve, and it is a talent. Hospitality, I told that to someone recently who was asking me a similar question, and they were like, I've never heard of someone say that hospitality is some sort of a ministry before, and they were like, I very much so understand why you would say that. So in short, I think it took me a long time to actually realize what my talents were, and I do feel like in knowing that, I've been putting more effort into it and being more mindful of it. But I always think there's room to grow. I always think that there is more that I could do.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I've spoken to so many people that have also said that they don't sing, they don't preach, they don't really want to be an usher, for example. So they don't really understand what their talents are and what their gifts are. But like you're saying, there are so many gifts and talents that we have. That's empathy, that is listening to others, that's being able to resolve conflict, that's very overlooked in the church, or even just being a welcoming presence. I think a lot of people underestimate how important it is to be a welcoming presence, especially in the church when new people are coming in and trying to find a church community, especially because you don't know where they came from or why they're at church and everything. So you saying that, I would love to hear from you, what were some unconventional gifts that God has given you, and how have you used it in the church?
For me, I have been learning to use my voice more and be more confident in that. Believe it or not, this podcast is one of the ways. I never used to really be the one to do that, but growing up, people would always tell me that I had a way with words. They would always tell me, whether it was my writing or whatever the case, or just conversations that I had with people. I was even in mental health counseling at one point, and just my way with words and being able to communicate with people, especially one-on-one. And now I'm understanding, okay, that is not the most conventional one, right? We just think of preaching to the masses, but being able to have a conversation with someone one-on-one and plant a seed or build connections, build community. That's something that I'm super passionate about, is just building community. And that specifically has really been something that I'm just embracing more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that definitely makes sense, especially because growing up, when I went to school, I always hated being in groups and having group projects and everything. And I always appreciated either solo or one-on-one work with like a friend or somebody else to get the work done. So I think a lot of people might be intimidated by joining a small group or joining youth Bible study at church. So forming those individual relationships means a lot for them, because if they can see God through you, then they'll be more open to joining different ministries in the church and being more involved. And I think that's really important. A lot of people overlook it too.
Right.
That's a wonderful thing.
No, for sure. I want to hear about yours too. And I will add that a part of the hesitation was, I think, the enemy. I mean, we always say the enemy does it, but no, seriously, I feel like the enemy was really getting in my head a lot of the time of, do you really think that you can speak about this? I remember one time I was talking to my cousin, who you know, about this, and I was just saying, hey, you know, I don't really feel like I'm competent enough to speak on this. And she roasted me so hard. She was like, don't you ever say that again. I never want to hear those words come out of your mouth.
I'm thinking of?
Yes. She's like, don't ever say
imagine
that again. But like, you know her, she's so sweet, like in a super loving way. She's like, don't ever say that again. Like, do you know who you are? Just very encouraging. And she just was like horrified that I even said that about myself. And I was like, why would I even speak that over myself either? So I think it's just a reminder of, I think sometimes the things that we're hardest on ourselves about are actually the biggest talents and blessings that God has gifted us with. So, and that's why it's so important to have godly friendships and community, which we talk about all the time. But she really caught me in that moment. And I was like, wait, she's right. She's right. Why would I ever say that about myself? This is a gift. This is something that people have expressed to me. And I just shoved it down for so long. But now I'm going to speak up. So
I'm curious though, did it encourage you to speak up in the form of the podcast, or was it like another area that she kind of encouraged you to get into?
In general, the area that she wanted me to do more leading of Bible studies and things of that sort. And I was just telling her, I was like, oh, I don't know. And I think it's allowed me to speak up more in general, just about my faith. I think for so long I was so tight-lipped about it, and I'm like, why wouldn't you want to spread such good news, Brandy? So now I'm using that more as a talent and to spread the word across, because of course I taught Sunday school and things of that sort, but then with the kids, you know,
Kids are more chill.
the kids, you know, we're talking about our stories, the basics, right? It's not very in-depth, challenging. Granted, I've had some kids do that. But I want to hear about you and what you feel like your talents have been and what that's looked like for you.
For myself, and that's why I was asking about yours, because I feel like so many people want, like I was talking to my cousin, for example, and she was just explaining how she really wants to help and lead in the church, but she's not sure in what capacity, because all of the talents that she sees in the church is very outwards and very like in front of people and stuff like that. And that's what, and I feel like a lot of people resonate with that, where they're just like, well, I don't sing, well, I don't preach, well, I don't feel comfortable leading crowds, and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's like an area that a lot of people struggle with. So it can be in the soft skills, I guess, if you want to say it, where you talk to people, where you connect with others through communication and everything, rather than everything that is showy and everything. That's why I said that before I got into mine, because mine is very much on the other side of
You're on the other side. So mine is very much so the introverted side of the spectrum, and yours is
I'm definitely not an extrovert, but
but the talent sounds like it might be coming from that
Yeah, from the very,
Outside of
you can
things.
see it. So
Okay.
for myself, have I been using it for his glory? I would say that I have. So I'm in praise team at my church. I sing. So I am in praise team. I'm using my gift of singing for God. Before I talk about the challenges, I'll just mention a couple others. So there's singing. There's also leading. I truly do believe that God has called me to leadership, and I shied away from it for a while, only because I just felt that I was coming across as bossy, or I was coming across as overbearing. So I went into myself a lot more and shied away from it because I didn't want to take the light away from anybody else if they wanted to lead it.
Yeah.
And I have just such a passion for leading and creating things and events and bringing people together that I was doing a disservice to myself. Like you said, I think it was the devil whispering in my ear, oh, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff, you're taking over all these roles, so on and so forth. So, and that's something I came to realize recently too.
Yeah.
It's not something that I have been doing for the past 5 years. For example, I was talking to my new therapist about just, you have to get them up to speed with your life and everything.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, 2020 to 2022 was tough. And after I explained everything, I was like, yeah, it actually was. So I said to say I was not leading or doing as much, and I didn't have like the proper skills, and I was all over the place. So thank God I've been healed, and I'm at a place now where I feel like I can lead and I can really like lean into it in the proper way. For example, not for self-praise, not for putting something on my resume, but truly for God and leaning on his strength and working through him for me to deliver what he wants, rather than me focusing on just creating something that I want. So I've been doing that for praise team. I've been doing that for leading youth choir. I did children's ministry. I served in the spring for that, so I was leading in that capacity. I was helping to lead in small group with your cousin. So I really have been doing those leadership roles. And it was honestly after just having so many experiences with God and just truly wanting to do things for him and everything. And it's interesting because people are like, oh yeah, well, you lead, you do X, Y, and Z, like everything is roses and butterflies. And I'm like, you really have to like pick up your cross, because for example, in praise team, I have to earnestly pray and really pray that when I'm singing, I'm leading others to praise him. I'm not trying to have my solo on the stage.
Your solo moment, and draw people to yourself.
Exactly. Like, oh, you sang really well, praise God, the glory goes to God. It's not about yourself. And I have to really pray and do it, because I feel like the pride pops up in your head. It's just like, oh yeah, you sounded good. Like, oh, you led that song so well. So that's an area that it's the same thing with like leading a workshop or anything. It's just like, this is for God's glory. So I say that to say, even when I'm leading in an outwardly way, you have to constantly check yourself, because if you allow God's gift that is like outwardly and people can see it, and you're not reflecting and praying and asking God to lead you through it, then it really can become a thing where you're just showing off and you're just getting self-praise subconsciously or even consciously, or making excuses for yourself, or even under the guise of, well, I'm doing this, I'm so great, nobody else can do it. It's like, no, God is using you. You are chosen by him in order to do this. Don't be mistaken. He could have picked somebody else. You're not the only person that can do this. So that's so
good. That's so good. And I appreciate that you mentioned that too, because I find myself, especially after someone who's so anointed sings, I used to find myself saying, wow, you did such an amazing job. That was so incredible. And I noticed that some people would respond with, wow, all glory to God. I'm like, yeah, wait, all glory to God. You're just the vessel. You did amazing. But you're just seriously the vessel. So now I catch myself and I find myself saying, wow, that really blessed me instead. Because you never know what you might be feeding and someone that you might like not intentionally be thinking that you're feeding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You saying that made me think of someone specifically that
Are we thinking about the same person?
Probably, maybe. Okay, afterwards. I don't want to say them.
I think
like,
about.
I think it's. Yeah. Come on.
That's what I was thinking about.
I love this girl. But
I'm learning to love her too. She's amazing.
I love her so much.
She does the same every single time.
Every time. I don't know I literally, funny enough, I was asking her because the way she leads worship is just in a way that like I can't even fathom. Like, yes, I'm on praise team and everything, but I don't. So I literally asked her the other day, I was like, hey, how do you lead worship like that? And she was just, because she led the song, she had transitions, like different songs, like fed into it, came back to the first original song, and then transitioned into the next one for the next person to like lead worship. And I was just astonished. And afterwards, I genuinely, so I was like, how did you do that? Did you, because you know, the sets and everything are sent beforehand.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe you were in the shower or like getting ready and you thought of some songs to transition. She's like, no, it came to me in the moment. And I was like,
that's so something that she would say.
I was like, it just came to you? She was like, yeah, it just came to me and I just did it. And yeah, I was like, wow.
She is anointed.
She is.
For sure. Sometimes I forget that, and who we're talking about is younger than, way younger than us.
Question it too. Yeah,
she's just so mature.
Yeah, she's just so mature. Like, I love her.
Anyway, but very good example of just
and
someone who's really much so. I'm here, but it's all for him.
It's genuinely, some people are like, yeah, all glory to God, but you can tell like for her, it's genuinely for God, and you can tell the way she works. So I also asked her, I was like, it sounds hilarious, but I asked her for some worship tips. I was like, how do you do that? Because I would love to bring other people to God in the way that she is able to do that through worship, right? So I asked her, I was like, hey, so what are you thinking of? I was like, my problem, for example, when I'm leading worship is that my brain will wander. Like, I will be singing a song and I will be thinking of lunch later, what I need to make, so on and so forth.
Lunch is crazy.
It's not my fault. I can't really control it. Or
crazy.
I'm telling you, I feel like it's just like a neurodivergency thing, because I will be reading and I will not be silent. I will always worship you. And then I'll be like, oh, silence. And then silence, I'll think of the word silence. And I'll be like, oh, when's the last time I had quiet time? And then, so my brain will literally fly to, or let's say they're talking about spiritual food during a song or something. I'll be like, huh, so I can't eat, before I even recognize that I'm doing it, we're already in the chorus of the song. My brain has it's left. So I was like, how do you stop your mind from wandering when you're doing worship? Because I feel like that is the main problem that I have. Because if you're truly in the song and you're singing and you're worshiping and you're thinking of the words that you're singing and you're truly praising God, of course you're going to lead others to worship. So I was like, how do you shut off the noise in your mind? And she said she just kind of gets into it, and she's able to just like sing and like focus on the words and focus on God. And she actually was just like, I haven't thought about it in that way, like how to silence the noise. She's anointed in a way where she can just, when she starts worshiping, she's truly just worshiping, and that's it. So I really look up to her. She's younger than me, whatever you want to say, but I look up to this girl. I've been looking up to her for a while. And like, yeah, I love this girl.
If she's watching this, she probably knows who she is.
I know. Like, yeah, and the thing is too, like you said, after she's done worshiping, it's always praise God. It's always like, oh, all glory to him. And then
it makes you stop and think, oh wait, I wasn't even trying to glorify you, but it could have, if you weren't thinking in that mindset, it could have totally
turned into that.
Yeah. I also noticed it's also about centering yourself. I notice oftentimes in the spaces I've been in with her specifically, she'll step aside and she will prepare herself to worship. I remember one time I was trying to catch up with her and I was like, wait, she seems like she needs some time to herself to just get herself together before she worships. So she takes it very seriously. And I think in terms of all ministry, whether it's worship or other ways that we're serving and using our talents, we really have to reflect and think about why are we doing what we're doing and what is it glorifying, no matter what that looks like.
Yeah.
But singing is a really big example.
Yeah, singing is a big example. But like you're saying, and no matter what you're doing, if your mind is somewhere else when you're leading even children's ministry, or you're leading choir, so on and so forth, people can tell. It's like they subconsciously can tell. If somebody, there's a reason why, don't get me wrong, like she has a special anointing, and when she worships, it's just like, wow. But also, you can tell if somebody is worshiping for their own self-praise, and I've experienced it like myself in real time, versus when somebody is singing to give glory to God, regardless of how, it doesn't even mean that they need to have the best voice in the world.
Yeah.
You can just feel when somebody is worshiping God versus their mind being elsewhere, versus them trying to have, having some kind of ulterior motive. So all that to say is, whether your gift is, especially if your gift is something that's more outwards and people can see it and everything, it's very important for you to do like the person we're talking about, step aside and check yourself and pray and ask God to really cover you during that time of worship or prayer or leading or anything of some sort, because you don't want to reach the point where you become corrupted and you don't even realize you're being corrupted until it's too late. Like I've seen, it's so unfortunate, I've seen so many talented leaders, preachers, so on and so forth, that really were blessed, but because they were so focused on delivering and they weren't keeping their relationship with God as strong, you can see it reflect in what they're saying when they're preaching, how they're singing, the way they're treating people, the way they're leading, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, whatever talent or gift that you're using for God, your relationship with him will reflect in what you're doing. So never think that you can just sing and just teach and do any of these things and do the bare minimum with God, because it will show in whatever that you're doing.
And on that same thread, a lot of people who are watching and listening, they know that we are recovering people pleasers. Do you find have you found in your experience that you have done or used your talents to people please as opposed to pleasing God solely?
I would say, so people pleasing for me shows up more in friendships or more one-on-one, more like in small groups and everything, than it does with leadership for me.
Okay.
I have very firm boundaries when it comes to leadership. There are certain things I don't tolerate, certain things I don't deal with. So I'm very strict. I'm very strict when it comes to leadership and stuff like that. So for you, where has people pleasing shown up in more of the soft skills area, one-on-one and things like that?
I think it's shown up for me in growing up as a PK. I think mixing when the head of your leadership is a parent, that can lead to some sort of people pleasing. I think for a good chunk of my childhood, I wouldn't say that I always did things for the glory of God. I think at times, sometimes it felt like I was doing it for my dad or for my family or this, that, and the third. And not to say that was all the time, but if we're being honest, that was a chunk of it. And I think many PKs can probably relate to that.
I see.
And for me, it was a chunk of separating the people pleasing from really serving the Lord. And now I realize that I'm doing it more and more for the glory of God, as opposed to feeling like it's a responsibility to please your parent. Not to say that my parents ever forced me really to do those things, but naturally you want to please your parents, right? So I think those lines became very mixed for me growing up in a lot of different roles, and I just felt like I was doing it to do it and not really doing it with the right heart posture or the right intent. And now I really had to check myself. And now I realize, okay, I'm really doing it for this reason. And if I'm not, and I'm not in the space where I'm in a position to serve, I also have to realize I have to step back. But growing up, I couldn't always do that because it would feel like you were letting your parents down. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point too, to reflect and think whether you're doing this for other people, or are you doing this for God. So if you're leading a ministry, is it because your friend is in the ministry? It's because you don't want your friend to be disappointed or mad at you or even lonely, and that's why you're serving in this capacity. And there's nothing wrong with joining a ministry because you want to be with your friend or you want to help your friend, so on and so forth. But your desire to do it for God should be stronger than doing it for your friend at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think that's a good point. That's a really good point to address it, because people will just do it for their parents. They'll just be in the ministry and they don't want to disappoint them, and they've been doing it for a while. Or it's not even that their parents told them to do it, like you were saying. It's that they see how joyful their parents are when they are in this ministry or doing this thing. Like when I see kids are kids, but when I see some kids in like children's choir, and I can tell they do not want
to an extent. I think growing up, you kind of gotta force your kids to do some stuff. You gotta push them. I remember there were times, even at our old church, well, you still go there, but back when it was in Boston, and I think there were times where I would tell, my mom, for example, I'd be like, I don't know if I really want to do it. And she's like, no, you're doing it. You're going to do it. And then I ended up liking it, right? But at first, it was kind of, I just want to sit down and just enjoy the service. And she's very much still like, nope, you're going to do it. Yeah. I remember going to rehearsals on Fridays for the choir. I didn't want to go all the time, but I was like, okay, well, my sister's going, and there are other youth there. And so it was just, over time, I grew to like it. But your parents had to kind of,
I think,
push you a little.
I think pushing the kid to do it is perfectly fine, especially when they haven't tried it before. But for when I see the same kid month 6 who looks miserable singing, or you can have like a monotone look and they're really zoned out, but you've also taught them, so you see them when they're genuinely happy, and you're like, I don't, because there's a difference. Like, no kid wants to be disciplined and go to practice every week, but you can tell that they're having a good time when they're on stage. But some of these kids, specifically the boys, I see them singing and they look like they'd rather be anywhere.
You know what it is? It's because the boys now, I think, this is my theory, right? I think that growing up, we had more tenors, we had more men in the choirs, and it was cool. It was cool to be in the choir. Now you don't really see that as much. It's mainly a lot of women. So I think the men are kind of like, well, why am I here? And I'm like, but back in 2005, you would have been.
Yeah, if you listen to Sunday service choir, if you listen to like all of these big ones, the guys really made like a big impact. Yeah, they were. It was wonderful.
That was the time.
But I get it. Encourage your kids, but if you see they genuinely don't like it, and like you just gotta like let them be. But we forgot to tackle the laziness part. So
we're way deep in the talents.
So like how do you know that it's laziness versus just needing to rest? Because sometimes you need to take a break from the ministry. Sometimes it's taking a step back. It might be a little prayer on the side versus you're really having a challenging season of life and you need to just rest and just step away from it completely. So how would you say someone should know if it's laziness, like not doing it, versus they need a break?
I think like an assessment of everything else that you're doing. Because if you really need rest, right, you're going to spend your time doing things that are going to fuel your rest. But if you're just doing, for example, you just cut off serving, right? You're not doing anything with the ministry anymore. And then you are just spending all your time doom scrolling or just doing other things. I find that to be laziness as opposed to let me recharge and reset. And I think also the length of time, right? If we're like 6 months out and still resting, something's wrong. either it's laziness or you just didn't actually get the rest you needed.
Yeah. Or you're burnt out.
Yeah.
And even, because there's so many, like what you're saying has so many layers to it. Like 5 things just like pop to mind, but it's true.
Tell me, we want to hear.
It's like there's a sense where you've been doing everything and then some, and you need a break, like you said, to recharge, to reset, to evaluate what's been going good and bad and so on and so forth, so that when you come back, you're recharged, you've taken a break, and you're good to go. There's also a sense where you're in a ministry, something happens, and you're just like, oh, I guess I'm not going to do it anymore, and then you just don't do anything for a long period of time. Or for me, laziness it's not even when you step away, it can also be when you're in it. So if you're teaching, right, and I've done this before too, we've all been there. Well, if you're teaching, did you prep? Did you organize? Or is it Sunday services at 11 a.m.? It's 9 a.m. You're in your room just trying to scribble something down really quick and stuff like that.
You're coming for 18-year-old Brandy.
I can't.
You're coming for 18-year-old Brandy. Okay.
Like you're just scribbling something down really quick because you need to get it done, and then you give it out, and then you produce it because no one's judging you. No one's gonna give you a passing grade for whatever. But I think the laziness is also, are you truly using the gift that God gave you to make it the best that you can possibly make it where you are in your season in life? Or are you just doing the bare minimum to say that you just did it? You know what I mean?
You did it.
Like if this was work, the best way I can think of it, if this was a work assignment and you came up with this lesson plan, would your manager say this is good, or would they say it was bad? Or if money was attached to it, right? This is how you can also evaluate what's your idol and what's your God. If somebody told you to come up with the best lesson plan that you can think of for Sunday school, and you will get $2,000 for the best one, I promise people would put in significantly more work to make it the best that they can, as opposed to if there wasn't like money attached to it and stuff like that, or if they weren't going to get a consequence, but this is God, and you have to really think about it. Like, you're not getting money for it, you're not doing these things, but you're doing it for God. So shouldn't you treat it with more respect than if you got money or if someone was evaluating it? So
and even beyond, that's such a good point, and even beyond the money, right? For example, I know we were talking a lot about singing and worship, right? Are you giving that same amount of energy when there are 500 people in the room that you're giving when there are 5 people that show up to the worship event?
That's fair. That's true.
No, seriously, because I also find that to be a form of laziness, or maybe even performativeness.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just gonna get through this to do it, but I'm doing it for God, so, and I'm using my gift, so it's like, because if you think about it, right, if everybody, I remember they were preaching a sermon about this, if everybody used their gift to the fullest extent, how far would the church be? How many people would be saved and everything? But like the person we were just talking about, right? They do it to the fullest, and we see the impact that's made for it, or whatever that they do. When they do it, we can see the impact. So why does it just have to be that one person? Like if you think, or even if you think of, for example, like celebrities, right? Let's say this is not like biblically related. The celebrity, in order to get to where they were, they worked insanely hard to be where they are. So imagine if everybody just used their God-given gifts and talents and just fully went with it. How far would they be? Or like, think about the 12 apostles. They used their fullest abilities to do that, and there were only 12 people. And look at like centuries worth of work that happened. So I say that to say, just because you're serving, it doesn't mean that you're not being lazy, and only you will know if you are actually putting in as much energy as you can, or if you're just doing the bare minimum. And that will look different in different seasons. Nobody's saying to, preach in, Morocco or something tomorrow, right? Because you have the gift of preaching. Maybe you're not called to do that right now, but no matter what you're doing, whether it is talking to someone one-on-one, whether it is leading something small or big, you need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, because you are going to have to, God's going to ask you, what did you do with my gift and talent? And you're going to say, so you're going to be accountable for it too. So
Yep. And how can you expect because in Matthew 25 it talks about the parable of the talents. We all know this parable, right? And one person, the master leaves, gives everyone a certain amount of money. One person gets 10 bags, one gets 5 bags, one I think was 1 bag. The one with 10 bags doubled it. The person with 5 bags doubled it. The person with 1 bag was like, my master works really hard for this money, I'm gonna hide it in the ground, and when he comes back, you know, he'll have that 1 bag. And the master, specifically when he came back, was really proud of the people that were diligent and multiplied the money. But the one that didn't was just really disappointed and was just, I forget what exactly he said, right? It was just like, did he call him useless?
So you did nothing with that.
Yeah.
Because you just hid it in the dirt and just like put it away.
Yes. Oh, he said, you wicked, lazy servant.
Wow.
So you know that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers and returned it, so I should have gotten some sort of interest, right? So basically, this is very synonymous to when the Lord comes back. God has given us all talents, right? In different areas, different aspects. So when God comes back, when he returns to get his church, to get his people, right? Is he going to say, well done, good and faithful servant? Or is he going to say, you wicked, lazy servant, right? So I think about that often. And also, in the people that doubled it, the servant, the master was also like, hey, I'm going to give you even more of my estate to take care of because you stewarded it so well. So how can we, I know sometimes we're like, God, I want this, I have these big dreams. Are you stewarding what you have so that God can bless you with more? Because how is God going to entrust more in you if you have not utilized what he's given you to the fullest? Exactly. I truly believe God will work with us if we work with him.
Yeah.
So that's my speech.
No, that's fair. I definitely think that's a really great point too, because a lot of people are just like, well, I don't know why I'm not blessed with this. And it's just like, you're not using the gifts that God, it's one, you're not putting in work to be close to God in general, point blank, period. Like, there's laziness there, right? That's another topic for another day, but that's the foundation. What does your relationship with God look like, right? After you formed your quiet time, a habit that works best for you so that you're constantly in fellowship with God and that you're constantly learning so that you can hear him speak to you, then through him speaking to you, you can use your gifts and talents in the way that he sees fit to the best of your ability. And by doing that, you'll be able to make an impact in somebody's life. So if we go to the story of Esther, for example, right? And during that time too, if you go back to the word, God was silent during that time, yet God was still able to use Esther in order to fulfill his will because she was so dedicated to God, right? So Malachi was saved because Esther moved. Like, sometimes blessings in our lives are not happening. It's because we're not moving in order for the person to be able to honestly bless us. Like, not that we're helping people to get something back. It's not about like reciprocity or anything like that. But sometimes people can't grow and learn until we do our work in order to support that person in their learning so they can reach a certain place so that they can do something that will affect everyone and also bring blessings for everybody. So all in all, you being lazy and you not having that relationship with God or using your gifts and talents to the fullest ability is only a disservice to yourself, and also, disservice to God, number one, two, to yourself and your future and everything that you want to do. So God is not going to move you to the next level or anything until you learn certain lessons. And I can't lie, myself included, you're going to keep going through that lesson over and over and over again until you learn what God is trying to tell you for you to then go to the next point and stuff like that.
Yes to all of it. Yes. In short, y'all, listen and seek God about what your talents are to begin with, and also get up. Don't be lazy. Like, God has given you another day. He didn't need to give you today, and he gave it to you, and let's not waste it being lazy or underutilizing our talents.
He's already helped us in so many ways, so don't take it for granted. Use the blessings that you have now, and as a thank you for all that he's done, whether you recognize it or not, the things in the seen and unseen, do your best for him because he is doing his best for you. So
Yes.
with that, thank you for listening, and please share with a friend that you think would like this content, and we will see you next week.
See you next time. Bye.